Hello everyone, it's first episode of the off-season of Grizzlies worldwide, and tonight we have with us Rebecca Jackson, who was already with us before, kind of in November, I think. And first of all, would like to I would like to thank Rebecca for being here again, and we're gonna talk about several topics. We're gonna talk about the season that should have never been, the upsides, the downsides, the silver linings. We're gonna also cover the draft, questions about contracts, and some other stuff like Jaren at the five and or whatever. We're gonna go step by step. How are you, Rebecca?
I'm very well. I hope you are well tonight
Yes, I
also.
am. Yes, yeah, I am. I am. Thank you. Thank you. So, um, I was the other day. I was doing a podcast here in Portugal. I told you.
Hmm.
Um, and I was talking about the Grizzlies, and this guy that hosts a podcast. He does a podcast about like every all the 30 teams in the NBA,
Hmm.
and he asked me about the Grizzlies season, and he had a word that was hospital for to describe this season, which I found that at a certain extent it was accurate, but
Most
I also
definitely.
felt yes, of course, like it's kind of obvious, but I also felt like uh, there were more. There were more to this season than just like a hospital, in the sense that um, it definitely was uh, a very hospital season with all the things with the injuries and all. But from my point of view, and of course, I want to know your point of view. Uh, I don't see it like a lost season at all. What's what's your how did you see all this season? I remember that we talked in November, and that, when we talked, Ja was still doing the suspension, and we were talking that what would change when he would come back, and well, he came back for 9 games, I believe. So, and then Marcus got injured, and then um, Des got an ankle sprain, and blah blah blah. Blah. And like, I think probably Jaren was like the only one that was not injured like the whole season. It was interesting because I saw that we had like 31 or 32 players playing for the Grizzlies this season.
Yeah,
So
yeah. When we
yeah,
started this conversation, the first thing that came to mind was that tweet that somebody put out with every single Grizzlies player that had scored over the last season, and the list
mhm.
was insanely long.
Yes, I think it was 31, maybe 32. Like
Yeah.
I'm not sure. um. Anyway, um, what kind of balance can you do of a season like this?
Well, yeah, I agree that while it was difficult to live through as a fan, you want your team healthy and you want your team competing. Um, at some point, especially as many turns as this season took in the downward direction, you just have to let it go and be, like you said, I'm looking for the silver linings.
Mhm.
W- would we have would we have seen the emergence of Gigi and the validation of the front office picking him at all when there was so much, sort of negative buzz around him at that time? Would we
About
have,
about
seen? Sorry.
you're talking the Gigi, and then you were talking about. Sorry, I lost.
No, yeah. I mean, would we have been seeing as much of Gigi as we did, if we hadn't had the
Hmm.
season that we
Hmm.
had? I think the answer is probably no. I'm
Of
not
course not.
going to be like, some NBA Twitter folks who say that it was because of another coach, saying, "Hey, put this kid on the floor, let's see what he's got." I'm not going to go that far, because when you have as many injuries as we did,
Hmm.
getting more playing time was inevitable, regardless of who was making the call or you know
Hmm.
anything like that. There were a lot of fans saying, "Oh, if it wasn't for," I think it was Tyrone Lue. I'm not sure who it
Hmm.
was. We were playing against, and if it wasn't for him, saying put Gigi on the floor, let's see what he's got or whatever, then Jenkins never would have done it. Like, I don't believe that for a second. When you have so few options, why wouldn't he have played him sooner than later?
Yeah. Do you think that the season didn't go the way that it went? Maybe of course, we would have seen a lot less of Gigi. Uh, but do you think that wouldn't have seen him at all?
No, I don't think that we wouldn't have seen him at all. I think, while the Grizzlies have a tendency to, stash players down in South Haven, um,
Hmm.
I do feel that he would have shown regardless, and I think that that's more than intriguing enough to say,
Hmm.
"Hey, let's give this kid some playing time." I'm not going to say that. Um, so like with the 25 game suspension, and
Yes.
the really terrible start that we had, some people would say the season was lost in those first 25 games. I
Hmm.
don't know that I'd go that far, but also they may have played it a little looser considering the poor start, and even early on the multitude of injuries, which only got worse obviously as the season went on. So I do think that there still would have been room for him to definitely get called up and get some playing time with the Grizz. Would it have been what it was this season? No, but I do believe that they would have done so.
Yeah. 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 I agree with you. I remember that I didn't know a lot. I didn't know anything about Gigi. Honestly. And I
Me either,
remember that.
except for, like I said, the sort of negative chatter about his um, personality more so than his playing.
Yeah, yeah. But I came to learn about that after started playing, and
Mhm,
not really before. I remember that in the preseason, like that week before the regular season starts. I
mhm,
remember that was a game. I believe it was like against Atlanta, and he played like the whole fourth quarter, and we were losing like 19, and then we just lost by one. And I really saw something in him, but then of course he disappeared, and the season started and everything. But yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I think that we got eventually you get to a point when if a season is lost, you have to like try to experiment, not only to give a chance to new players and to show what they have, but also to like to put them in different assignments, different positions, to like to see what they got and to develop them, right?
right.
And also another obvious silver lining, and I'm gonna say this. I never said this before, and my friend Yazi, if I'm ever, is gonna kill me if he hear this. I didn't used to like Vince Williams. I I I I, I think he. I
Whoa,
know
them's
it's
fighting
something.
words.
Because I always sense like he was like nonchalant about his game. He only played garbage minutes in the last season. Yeah,
Mm,
so he almost seemed like the kind of player that was really not locked in. And yeah, how wrong I was. Like, for me personally, and of course, Gigi is because he's younger, and uh, but for me, like Vince was like the silver lining of the season, and
Yes. Yes. I agree because your observation about his playing, at the tail end of last season is accurate in that you didn't really see the glow up coming. I mean,
mhm,
when he was put in a position to have to do better, he
mhm.
did better, and much, much better than expected. And I think that's why he shines so much as the biggest silver lining of the season. In that regard, he is a dog, as the kids
Yeah,
say.
I had that word
And he
in my
plays
mind.
with a joy, and it's a complete
Mhm.
opposite of the nonchalance that you saw before.
Yeah, but it looked like it, but it was not. So it was like what kind like surprised me because I didn't, I was not seeing the dog in him,
Right.
and then when he started playing, I think the first game he played it was against the Celtics, I believe. But then when he started playing more and more minutes, and I was like astonished, like how could I think that this guy was nonchalant? Like he's completely locked in. He's really a dog, like you said, and for me, it was really from the players that came up this season, especially, of course, Gigi and Vince are the ones that more obvious. Like,
Right.
and Vince was really like. It really blew my mind because I didn't have like I had the opposite opinion about him, and I was so wrong, and I'm so glad that I was so wrong. Um.
Do
Anyway.
you feel, let me ask you a question. Do you
Yeah.
feel that um, Dylan Brooks being moved to Houston, like maybe sort of kickstarted in Vince a sort of maybe an agenda to sort of replace him as that, you know, shit talking, get in your face defender that is, you know, gonna rattle your cage as much as they can. I wonder about that sometimes. Um, did he feel some stirring to sort of take that position on, or that role, if you will, on the Grizz?
That's a very good question, and I think that the answer probably is no, the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes, but I also think that it was also something that was already inside him, and
Hmm.
that's the kind of thing that I could not see inside him, and then I started to see inside of him, and yes, I think that it started to fill in that role that Dylan Brooks going to Houston left that kind of void, and yeah, I think he really stepped into that in well in a slightly different way because they're not like the same, of course. Um,
Exactly. Yes. I was just
yes,
thinking, considering how soft spoken Vince is and how shy he seems in interviews and things, it does seem like, the opposite side of a coin, not
yeah,
quite
yeah,
Jekyll and Hyde level, but, definitely a softer, but also it makes it more sinister in a way, right?
yeah, like a psychopath. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I remember some of the matchups he got, like in the beginning when he starts playing. Um, I remember one against Doncic,
Hmm.
and he was really like driving Doncic mad. I remember also against Curry. Uh,
Hmm.
this image that he's guarding Curry, and he's like smiling like a kind of psychopath. Um, and I think that it brought a lot, a lot of lockedness. I don't know if this expression exists or just making up, um, to the Grizz at some time, at some point
Right.
of the season, because like he always plays locked in, and he always plays like at the top of like really in really into the game and really into his assignments, and yeah, with the trash talking and the provocation of the opponents, but in a different way than that Dylan used to do, at a certain extent. And yes, as you pointed out, then when you hear him talking like in interviews, or is so different, because he's
Hmm.
so humble, he's so soft spoken. So it's like um, a different person comes into the court. And but yeah, that's a really good question, because at the beginning of the season, I think that most of us would think that was gonna do that thing that Dylan used to do, and probably we would think like in a different way. Of course, would be Marcus Smart, and but then Marcus got injured and blah 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 again, and it turned out to be Vince, who got all kinds of nicknames like the Boogeyman, the Grandfather. There were like a lot, a lot of nicknames for him and for his style of playing. And um, we started talking about this, doing like the balance of the season and taking the silver linings of the season. Of course, as a fan, that's not what you'd want the season to be. Um, but at the same time, like what I feel, and coming back to the podcast I was talking to you about before, is that I feel, and I want to ask you, and if you agree or if you don't, um, like this was really a bad season, because we have, I think, 27 wins, and so like um the fuck. Okay, I was asking you about I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think that for as bad as this season was for the Grizzlies, maybe it was not as bad, and not only because of the silver linings of the emergency of Gigi, Vince, and also other players that we're going to talk about, but in a certain sense, I feel like for me as a fan, uh, it was really like a setback, but I started to sense at a certain point that next year, uh, hopefully being healthy, we coming back stronger than we would have been this year. Um, Not only because of the players that emerged, but also because of what a season can like this can do to the mentality of a group, of a team in this case. Like,
Hmm.
can bring you down, and it can, but also can create resilience. It can create fighting spirit, and like Jaren said in an interview that you showed me, like you don't want to be in that place again. You
Right.
always remember where you are because you don't want to be in that place again. And if you add the things that the issues that happened with and then he coming back and got injured, and all the things that were happening during the season, I think that's what I want to ask you. Okay, it was a terrible season, but could it be that like was like a terrible season that was needed to get like a wonderful season in the future?
That is an excellent way to look at it, and I find myself agreeing. Yes. Because people have been shown how bad it can be, and that aside from injuries, which cannot always be predicted, um
Mhm.
you know that decisions that you make have an effect on more than just yourself. you know um and I'm speaking about John in saying that, but also like about Jaren. Jaren had to take on a different role
Mhm.
this season with our top two out. The third option became the first
Yeah.
option, and I think
Mhm.
that he wasn't able to be the defender that he was last season. They got him the deep boy, but he was able to, in my opinion, understand that fouling carelessly has an effect. That um, playing lackadaisically has an effect. That if he can tighten up these certain things, then he can be even better, and that shows a sort of uh, self
Yeah.
awareness.
Mhm.
And then Jaren is already community minded, but then applying that to the Grizzlies as a community, and how
Yeah.
he can, how poor decisions on his part on the court can affect the team as a whole, and how changing those, making improvements in those decisions can have the net positive effect in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I agree with you. And a funny thing, an interesting thing is we always used to talk like Jaren getting in foul trouble, like you were saying. And it was interesting enough that this season you didn't see that. Okay, some games you would see that,
Some games, yeah,
but
right.
for the most of the games, he was not doing that. Because he really had to stay in the court, and I think that he grew, like you said, like more self awareness, and and also I I I truly believe that his game developed like a lot, like especially also in offense, it developed a lot. He did the same with Desmond Bain. The same thing happened because
Hmm.
and so and you could see like in a small sample in the 9 games when Jack came back. It was just, of course, a small sample, but I think that we could see that like the big three, if you can call it like this, of
Yes.
course they can, uh, and it was really like the big three. It was not like the big two and the other two. Um, so um, I know you are a big Jaren fan. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I am too. And since we are a Jaren, and um, we are going to talk about this because there's a lot of conversation about this on Twitter and Tumblr and so and so and so and so. Jaren at a five. What do you think about about this idea? Jaren playing at the center at the five.
As his primary positioning, no, I don't. I think it's a bunch of baloney. Now, uh, occasionally, yes. If the
Mhm.
need is there, yes. But but he is best as a roamer. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that coupled with, the offensive jump that he took this season because of being in the position that he was in,
Mm-hmm.
and, you get him back to being his best defensive self. I mean, who wouldn't want that leap, in my opinion? Um, I understand, I guess, that, people feel like he would be elite at a center once he got there, but he's not that player. So that would take time, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we're on a timetable. Let him be him, and let's get, a true center um to have beside him, and and go that direction.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
Mm-hmm. Now go on.
I- Yeah, the center. I mean, yes, you have, Jokic, the MVP. He's a center. Embiid. There are definitely centers who are huge contributors to their team, and excellent players. All that kind of stuff. But that's not necessarily the norm, right? I mean, it's usually centers kind of like blend into the background in a way,
Like a
you know. And I don't think
usually
Jaren's
such
that
a
kind of player. Hmm.
no, yeah, 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 definitely. Jaren is not that kind of player. Um, I
You
don't
lose
see him.
something. You lose something that's valuable if you put him at the center, in my opinion.
I totally agree with you. I think that playing at the center, yeah, he can do that in certain occasions, of course. But if you put him playing like the center, like the five, you you tend to you're going to lose the best out of Jaren.
Hmm.
That's my opinion because, as you said, his best is better at roaming and not like being fixed. And you talked about Jokic, about Embiid, and of course, and other names that we could think about, but they're different. It's not the same.
No,
No, I, I'm not gonna lie. I always see Jaren as a four and not as a five. I think that um, it's where he's more valuable to the team, both
absolutely.
offense, both
Offensively
offensively
and
and defensively too.
hmm.
So okay, no, so we talk about this and um, so um, people on Twitter that want Jared at a five, we're not on your team. So
And no, we're
no,
team
no,
four.
yeah. So, but that leaves us with another
Hmm.
question that we do need a center. We had
We
Stephen
do.
Adams, he went to Houston, and now we need one. And there are like multiple possibilities. Do we draft? I got tired of thinking about this, to be honest. Like, do we draft one? Do we draft Klingon? But then if we draft Klingon, is like is he ready to go, or do we have to develop him? Because I don't know. I'm not really into prospects, and but do we, even if we do get him, do we get Klingon and he's like the center we need? Um, I I I don't know what your opinion is, and I want to ask you. Usually, I have like um um doubts about the fact that how a rookie can play in a team that really wants to contend. Um, of course, I might be wrong. I know that you like Lively too, and he's
Hmm.
a rookie, and he plays extremely well in the playoffs. But like um, many times, like players, they need to adapt to the NBA, adapt to the game, adapt to the team, and like it takes time for most
Right.
players. It takes time, and as you said before, regarding another question, we are like on a timetable, and I don't think that maybe. we have the time to start developing and creating the center, getting the center that we need via um, draft. Um, do you think we should do this, or
I am in the camp of draft the best player at the position you're picking at.
yeah,
So in order to because the rankings of these prospects changes from week to week. Some weeks one player's on top, the next week, the other player's
mhm,
on top, and there and initially there wasn't a lot of talk of Klingon, and Edie is
yeah,
another favorite from Grizz fans. Neither of them going top three, but now, especially with Klingon, there seems to be more talk of him going in the top three. So in order
mhm,
for the Grizz to go from their 9 spot to the 3 spot to be able to get a player like Klingon, they would have to give up some things, and would it be worth it? I feel like the price tag is too high to move up very
mhm,
much, in pursuit of drafting for position. I feel like you draft the best player at your spot, or you move up marginally and draft the
mhm,
best player at that spot, and then use that piece to acquire an experienced center, or you know some other combination of assets to acquire an experienced center. Um, there seem to be quite a few who are entering free agency. Uh,
yes, yes,
so that's hopeful. And I just feel, like you said, are they ready to go? They all have, there are all reasons why they're not. The footwork's not great. Oh, they're a clog the paint kind of, player or
mhm,
whatever, and we can't have that with, paint players like John Morant and now Desmond Bain going to the rim as much as he's been doing. So, you know, um, so yeah, I'm definitely like not really into giving up too much to move up too high to get a center in the draft.
yeah.
That's not what I think they should do. With the Grizzlies, you never know. But they did also say that they kind of learned their lesson on going too heavy on youth. Um, I just feel like they're not going to swing that hard for a Klingon, or any center in the draft this season.
Yeah,
But yeah, yeah. So maybe
well,
they get somebody lower. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah, you said something that's true. Like you look at the prospects, and like they seem like be changing. Like except for like for Sar, Alexander
Right.
Sar, that's always number one. Like uh, today, like 2 hours ago, I saw um, a mock draft,
Mhm.
and Klingon was at 9. It really like um, because they're always
Interesting.
that could be interesting at 9. I think it could be interesting.
Yeah, if you don't give anything up for him, certainly you take him at 9 for sure. Uh, I think also, not to like pound on Zaire, but that we moved up for him is, a sour point for a lot of fans. It didn't turn out like we thought he would, or whatever the deal
Mhm.
is. We paid too much for him. We don't want to be in that position again. Not saying that Klingon is the same kind of player, or that they compare at all, but just the scenario of taking a big hit, taking a big swing, and it being a miss instead of a hit.
Yeah, and also I think that if you look at free agency, and even if you look at potential centers that could be available for a trade, like it's not something that you need to go to the draft to fix,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
probably maybe not the best option, especially if you have to give too much to to
Right.
to get there.
So
Speaking
there are
of
a lot
free,
of like, there's a lot of chatter right now about the Grizzlies and the Rockets potentially making some sort of deal where
Yeah.
they can move up for the Rockets number 3 spot, right? But the whispers are it's a
Hmm.
trade of Marcus Smart and additional assets to move up to that spot. Like, I don't think the Grizzlies are going to move Marcus Smart. I know that
Well,
somebody has to be moved, and in my opinion, I think it'll be Kennard.
yeah.
We need shooting, obviously. Jaren had his offensive leap, this year because of circumstances. Um, but I always forget this, and then I remember, oh, we draft and stashed Bieberovic, and he's a
Hmm.
pretty good shooter from what I understand. So,
Hmm.
you know, we package, Kennard to acquire an experienced center or something like that, and then call up Bieberovic um, to actually be part of the rotation,
Hmm.
taking that spot off the bench as the shooter.
Yeah, I saw that buzz around to move up to pick number three, and that would involve Marcus Smart. And I think, in my opinion, is like nonsense. It makes zero sense,
Hmm.
like zero sense. And you were saying, and I agree with you. I think that of course we're gonna have to move someone also because of the payroll and the
Right.
account and the CPA and blah blah. It's just confusing, Jesus. But but I've been looking at it, and of course and I think that's the more obvious more obvious, and not only obvious, the more accurate would be to move Luke Kennard, and because he's making he has team option this year.
Hmm.
I am certain of that. And he's like 50, he's making like 15 million. And if
Hmm.
you can move more or picks or other assets, you can, like, at this point, like, for a trade, you can get a good center, or you can go into free agency, but still you will have to move because of the payroll and blah 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 blah,
Hmm.
all that math. Um, Speaking of free agency, um, there are like three names that three no, yeah, three names that uh keep coming up as centers, and that is Drummond, Artenstein, and Claxton. Um, what are your opinions on? I'm gonna tell you my opinion. I think that I'm not sure about Drummond because I really don't want a center just to grab rebounds. I think that's
Hmm.
too limited. But just grab rebounds. I think that a center also has to like play have an offensive an offense. It's a plus if he has an offense and not just someone to grab
Right.
um, rebounds. It would be an upgrade to to any team. I think that Artenstein, and I'm gonna tell you one thing. Um, this account on Twitter, Steven Adams stats.
Hmm.
Yeah, when Steven Adams got injured, he talked about two names that would fit the Grizzlies perfectly, and one was Gafford, and no one was paying attention at the time,
Hmm.
uh, and he was right. and and he
You're
also
right.
told
I didn't know that. I didn't notice
he
that.
did,
Yeah.
he did, and the second player he talked about at the time was Hartenstein, and he was also right. But I do think that with the playoffs and everything, maybe the value on Hartenstein has grown,
Yes.
um, and a lot of teams probably will have interest in having him. Well, there's the Claxton thing. Um, do you know Claxton? Do you like Claxton?
I have admired his game in the past. I didn't watch him as much last season. That you mentioned him, I did see some chatter about him being traded, I think, to the was it the Pistons? Who has Duran?
Duran Pistons.
Yeah. Something about him going to the Pistons, but they have Duran, so why would they do that? And then
Yeah, but then
somebody
yeah,
no, a Nets fan was saying, well, I don't think they know, they think they want Claxton, but I don't think they know like how bad his footwork is. It's always these same critiques of the footwork being bad. Like, is that just kind of a generic, complaint about centers? They just can't move their feet. I don't know. Because like I said, I didn't watch him last season very much or at all unless they were playing the Grizz, to be honest.
yeah, me too. Me too. I sometimes I pay attention to the players when they play against the Grizzlies, but it's the same for me. Yeah. I think that you can always find like weak spots to footwork or whatever on almost any player. Well, you can go and I don't know, get Jokic, then you have the problem solved. Um, but yeah, I also heard that that the Pistons would be interested in Claxton,
Mhm.
and so that would make like Duran expendable.
Right. So there is a
And
contingency
so
of Grizz fans who want Duran back in Memphis, which,
mm, yeah,
I'm not too, I don't know that much about him, honestly. So I can't say. But he is fairly young, is he not? This was last season was his second?
uh, I think second. I'm not sure. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm just,
I
yeah.
think.
So I know that, yeah, I know that but I mean, I don't know if I know enough about who's available. I was so enamored of Hartenstein for the last couple of years that I've
Mm,
really not paid enough attention to other big men in the league and what they might bring to the Grizzlies, which is not smart because we need that obviously. So, but again, I'm one of those people. It's just like what. I got no skin in this game. I'm not a GM. I'm not a manage. I'm not a coach. I'm
Listen,
nothing. I'm just a fan,
listen,
right? So why put too much thought into it? I mean,
yeah,
what's
that's
going to
fine.
happen is going to happen without my input.
Yeah, it's Clement's work. It's not mine. It's not yours. Like, yeah, and but about Duran, I'm gonna be honest too. I don't know much about his game. I do saw, but well, stats they mean what they mean. I do saw that he gets like a ton of rebounds, like a ton,
Mm,
like absurd, like 16, 17, like
wow.
yeah, and also some Greece fans that I really value their basketball knowledge. I always heard them talking really well about Turin, so I'll take their word for it. Um,
Right.
But it's just me taking their word for it. And but as you said, well, you're not GM. I'm not GM, and whatever happens, it's going to happen, and we will see. Also, about trades and to um to back up this centers thing because probably it's gonna be someone else. Like I don't know. We talked about his names. They were also talked about Jared Allen from the Caps.
Right. Right. Am I wrong in remembering that I think people think that the price is too high for him?
Yeah, probably if you want to, I don't know, but probably if you want to get Jared Allen for the Cavs to be interested, you probably have to, you would have to give up Marcus Smart, and you
Mm,
probably have to swap picks with them. Like I think they're 18 pick or something. So we give them 9, they give us 18 or something. Um, that's probably the only way that would happen.
mm,
And um, there was a time I thought it it might happen, and it seemed that was something that could happen, but now I'm not so sure. Like we talked
right.
about, like um, we talked about Clarkson, Artenstein, uh, Duran, Drummond, um, Jared Allen. Um, uh, Also, there were also talks about Capella because the Hawks may be trying to move on from him. Um,
Mm,
mm, yeah,
yeah.
I feel like to
It doesn't do much for me either. Yeah.
no, no, no. Last couple of days, I started also to hear some buzz about to read some buzz about Kessler.
Right. And didn't we
Yeah,
trade
yeah,
positions and
yeah,
missed on him?
yeah, 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 yeah. We did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did that. And
It happens, but we're also good at bargain hunting and picking up diamonds in the rough. So I mean it's a trade off. We
yeah,
we make some bad moves to move up, but in a small way make up for it by finding these diamonds in the rough, I guess. But it that kind of gets old.
yeah, yeah, and and to be honest, like you, in fact, you never know what you're gonna get from most of a what you get in the draft. You can have
Hmm.
expectations, you can have reports, analytics, blah 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 blah, everything. But like, if you see, like, probably the best players we got in the draft, we got in the second round
Hmm.
at 45 and 47. Like, it speaks for itself, right?
Hmm.
With, and I'm not going. And you know that I'm not really into talking about any Greece player, but we got Zaire at the 10th pick, I believe,
Hmm.
and we also got Santi. We got Jake, and then we got Gigi at 45 in the second round,
Yeah.
and Vince at 47, I believe, also in the second round. So I don't, I, well, the prospects, and they mean what they mean. Um, then the other day I was seeing that the year the Jamaran was drafted by the Grizzlies,
That what?
the year that Jamaran was drafted by the Grizzlies,
Right.
um,
2019.
yeah, the three main prospects on that draft was Zion, number one, Jamara, number two, and number three was that guy that used to play for the Knicks. Jesus, I remember. I forgot his name. Um, and if you look at it, like now 4 or 5 years before,
RJ Barrett.
yeah, that's him, RJ Barrett. And now if you look like 5 years before, okay, Zion has the issues with the weight and the health, and but it's still I think that he can still have a future. But if you look at it, like now looking backwards, which is always easier, to look
Hmm.
backwards. If you any team that would know what we know now would draft Ja at 1 and not Zion or RJ Barrett at 3 or so. It means what it means. Um. Anyway, so we got lost in the central conversation. Like it was just meant to be. And no, um, I thought I, I wanted to like you can play like that's that's the thing that I saw that we saw that same was when we were Brevin. Like you can be like GM Rebecca or fan Rebecca, whatever you decide, and you have to speak with these players. And what would you say to Jack now beginning the season?
What would I
You.
say to Ja as well, I'm going to say as a fan because that's what I am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would just say, just keep doing what you're doing, right? Because he has maintained a low profile. He
Mm-hmm.
has increased his community activity. He's having
Mm-hmm.
these, kids camps all over the place. Yeah. Tons of kids are coming out for it. He's still got cachet, and and as as much as other fan bases like to make of his stumblings, I do think that he has come out for the better, and I think that in the season to come,
Mm-hmm.
and beyond, obviously, he has a great opportunity to, like you said, this season was a disaster, but it's also a reset, you know, to
Yeah.
reset the narrative, to cash in on his on the goodwill that still exists, especially among young fans who,
Mm-hmm.
are just excited by him, just viscerally excited by him. And I think, that, that'll make a huge difference going forward as far as, him maturing into um, just a more focused individual. And, you know, I- you
Mm-hmm.
know, being a small town kid, coming up the way that he did, the spotlight's on you, you're getting all these deals, it's all new and fresh and exciting, and you're just still yourself, So
Yeah. Yeah.
you have these things happen and then you learn from them, which I think he has done.
Yeah. Like I saw. I was watching um the Anthony Stein show the other day, and he asked a good question: is Silent Ja a good Ja? This quiet Ja,
Hmm.
and it is, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it's like the best Ja. Uh, yeah, I think
Be
so.
loud on the court, be loud with your
Yeah.
play, be loud with your leadership, in the community and on the team. Be loud in that way. And I feel like that is a lesson that he went through the process of learning last season and can carry with him into the future.
Okay. And what would you talk? What would you say to Des?
To Des, man, I would just say keep that chip on your shoulder. You know, he
I
has improved,
I
in
admire
so
him
many
so much.
ways
I'm
every
not gonna
season.
lie.
That do what?
I admire him so much. I'm not
Yes.
gonna lie, because it's really hard. But please, you're talking, so go on.
No, like it's yeah, no, it just keep that chip on your shoulder because it drives him in a positive way. You know, um, I watched a documentary on the Brat Pack recently, directed and put out by Andrew McCarthy. Anyway, um, in all the people that he talked to, all the other members of the Brat Pack that he talked to, they were all like, we tried to use that negative connotation, that negative, impact on us in a positive way going forward. And he was stuck having had it impact him negatively for years after the article came out, calling them the Brat Pack, all this kind of stuff, all these maligning their characters, saying they're just, uh, not serious actors, all that kind of stuff. So So when you have a person like Des, like these other brat packers, that they're able to take that negativity and turn it into a positive, like you couldn't ask for more than that. That's if that's what drives him, that's great because he's able to turn that negativity of being taken last, being passed up by teams that he wanted to be on, and turning that into gold, basically.
100%, 100%, yeah, 100%. And what would you say to Jaren?
Man, I would say to Jaren, like, oh, it's so hard because he's my baby. I don't like to be critical,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would definitely say like this last season was also a proving ground for him, and take the lessons learned of being put in that position of leadership and carry them forward into a season where it's like a collaborative leadership, like you said, the big three, so they're all going to play a part in leadership roles, and they all are going to have to this whole thing that people have been pining for the entirety of Jaw's tenure on the Grizzlies, the Jaw and Jaren connection. It's going to be the three of them, and so when to lead and when to pull back, um I feel like that's definitely going to come into fruition soon. I think we'll see that blossoming in this coming season, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
feel like you know that put him in a position to understand what what's expected of Jaw every night. You know what I mean? What's expected of Desmond every night, and
Uh-huh.
and to understand, hey, uh, this is us. I need to understand that more is expected of me as well, And so, yeah, I think that I would just say, you know, take a look back at this last season and be the positive, person that you are, and parlay that into, a good relationship between the top three and on the team.
Great, great. I would add nothing else. Um, Vince?
Well, just keep being your psycho self, man.
Gigi? Gigi?
I mean, oh, and
Okay.
Gigi, yeah. I mean, oh, gosh, Gigi is a breath of fresh air. I would also,
Yeah,
I mean, that's the
really.
thing is that I feel like the best version of these players is them being themselves, and the Grizzlies is an organization that allows for that. So, so yeah, I obviously, neither Vince or Gigi are going to get the playing time that they got this last season in the coming season.
Mhm,
But I don't think that means that they'll be relegated to South Haven, for big chunks of the season either. They'll be integral bench pieces sooner than later. Do I think that Vince should start over Marcus Smart? No, I'm sorry, I just don't. But I also don't think that who starts the game is as important as who finishes it.
mhm, mhm.
So,
Yeah, I totally agree with you on this. 'Cause there's also been this debate who should start, Marcus, Vince, and people, and but I agree. I think that if Marcus is staying, he's starting. Uh, uh, but also, I think that it's not like who starts; it's more about the minutes you get,
mhm.
and especially who finishes up games, and not really who starts. Who starts games? Um, there are a lot of players. I'm not going to ask every single one of them. Yes.
Mhm.
But okay. Um, would you keep Lamar? And if you would, what would you tell to him?
I do love Lamar. I
Mm-hmm,
do. I do think that he brings something to the Grizzlies, and I'm sure he's cheap, considering,
mm-hmm,
and comparatively. So yeah, if we kept Lamar, I would say just uh, keep plugging for minutes because he makes a difference when he's on the court, and and get comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, yes. And now we talked about this before. What would you say to Santiago?
Ay, Santiago. Wow. Mm.
Man, just attack the rain, man. Just don't
I
be
do
so polite.
sometimes feel like he doesn't quite fit, you know? Um, he can be a good facilitator, but he also can be a bit of a ball hog. I don't know that that's really, I mean, he's definitely, had his moments, but is that what we need from him? I don't know. I like his attitude, he's definitely spicier than I thought he would be at first. Um, but that also is a double-edged sword. You never, he's not the kind of player that's going to get away with that as much as, somebody
Mm-hmm.
uh with a better, a bigger reputation or more time in the league or whatever, So um I would say, uh I don't know. I mean, I want to say like find your happiness. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
seem happy or comfortable in Memphis in a way. I know that obviously, he's friendly with his teammates and all that kind of stuff. But his game and maybe how he feels about how he's being used or the playing time he's getting or not getting, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that perhaps if he would be happier doing something else or playing for somebody else, then but is it up to him, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Which
like,
okay, which could lead me like to another question because we probably again looking at the payroll. Yes, I'm so sick of looking at the payroll.
all these
You just
numbers.
numbers and you cannot keep this one. You have this. Like probably you cannot keep if you want to move to a center. You cannot keep Zaire, Sandy, Jake, Conchar. Like someone has to go. At least like maybe two of them have to go.
Hmm.
If you were on that spot, I'm not going to ask you who would you let go. I'm going to ask you who would you keep. It's
Who
a
would I
simple.
keep?
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, list them off again.
Zaire, Sandy, Jake, and Conchar, James, GG, Zero things.
So I think I mean of those I would keep Conchar, and I mean,
Hmm.
is it keep two or keep two, get rid of
Yeah, yeah,
two?
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can keep two, right?
So it was Zaire, Santi, Jake, Conchar. Was it four or five?
Four,
Four. Okay.
just four.
So I guess I would keep Conchar and Santi in that case because, well, shoot, Jake. I don't know. I feel like Jake is definitely like into being on the Grizz, and I feel like as much as much crap is talked about him when he's been given significant minutes, he's shown well.
Yeah,
So
yes.
maybe I would keep Conchar and Jake.
Uh, if it was
What would
me,
you do?
well, I would keep Conchar definitely, definitely,
Mm-hmm.
and I would keep Jake. I would, because like it's like very puzzling to me because it seemed like he couldn't do like anything really valuable. But since he got more minutes and he started to get assignments, not only catch and shoot, he started to do some things that I don't know if they will stick with time. But I saw in him things that like 5 6 months ago I was not expecting to see. And
Yes.
To be honest, like I agree with a lot of things you said about Sanji. He doesn't seem like to fit in. Also, I have this thing because he's like he's a 7 footer, and he's like like I sense he should be more aggressive going
Hmm.
into the rim, which he doesn't,
Right.
and well, for Zaire, and like guys, I stood up a lot for Zaire
Yeah.
because I can't. Cause, yeah, I did, and
I feel like I've
and
been burned by Zaire too many times, you know?
me too.
Like, right.
Yeah,
Like he'll have these like, moments of brilliance and then he'll just be complete ass and it's like he don't care
yeah,
that he's
that's
being
yeah,
complete ass. And that bothers me.
yeah. Because I think we talked about it at some point. We talked about it. Like I'm not going to criticize um to trash talk or on a player that's not playing well
Mhm.
because that can happen, and like you play the best that you can, and maybe it can happen that the best that you can it's not good enough. Okay,
Mhm.
but when you're like not playing the best that you can, and like it seems like you're not giving effort um about that, no, that really like pisses me off. That's
Mhm.
the thing that I don't I don't accept on any player on any team that I like, whether it's in basketball or on soccer, that I also like to a lot, as you know, that you can be better or not so good or be a genius or be an ass, but you have to give it all, and if you're not getting the best out of your game, at least you have like to be frustrated and not being like yeah, okay, mm,
Right,
mm,
blasé about it, right.
like nonchalant, no, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. I feel like with Conchar and Jake, you definitely get that effort. And,
hmm,
with Conchar, it's a bit of quieter effort. Jake, I think, made a little bit more noise, especially towards the end of the season. And I say that because um, I just kept thinking to myself, like, okay, it was a funny thing. I noticed he was always wearing the Jaw shoes, right? Always wearing Jaw ones. And
hmm.
I just every time he would have a great game, I was like, it's the Jaw ones. It's got to be the Jaw ones. Like, and I kept saying that so much. So yeah, he made that effort, and he is, draped in the regalia of the team, and he revels in it. And to me, that's important too. And it also, we were talking about the fragility or the hesitancy of Santi and getting physical. Jake has no reservations about that.
Hmm,
He
hmm.
will drive into the paint, and it's so weird to say that because for a while, he's very much, maligned, and I was definitely part of that on occasion, like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
come
me too.
on, but
Yeah, who
he
wasn't?
sincerely made a good effort, in this season.
Yeah, and I think I noticed about Jake also. He's very good at rebounding. We keep
Hmm.
talking about rebounding. He's very good at rebounding. He's 6'8" or 6'9" or something, and he's
Hmm.
really good at rebounding. And I do value the thing that he was like on the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, like of Greece fans, and he kept like uh, the right mentality,
Right.
and I think that's something that I value a lot. Um, like he never gave up. He never
Hmm.
uh, and when he had the time and the time to play and the minutes to play, he really showed like we, I want to play and I want to give my best and I want to to put my effort in, and yeah, maybe it was the job once, I don't know, but but he did much better than I ever thought he would. And that's for GD for contract. Well, we talked about this a lot of times. It's a kind of player that you really don't notice him if you're not like because he's not on highlights or like, doing like you had this expression the Giro things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sums it up perfectly. Perfectly. Um, and so yeah, I, I yeah. So we agree. We agree.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, interesting.
we
That's
keep
cool.
Jake and James. We keep the G's, and we get yes and the Z. Um, and the three. Um,
Yes, yes. And they're worth about the same, right? So combined
mhm.
Santi and Zaire next year are about 9 million and the same. But in the opposite direction. So Conchar 6 and Jake 3 also 9 combined. So
Yeah,
and
Zaire 6. Yeah, Zaire 6. Santi 4. Around 4. So
mhm,
that's 10. Uh, uh, GD 6 and Jake somewhere. I'm taking 3. I think so. Yeah, it's about the same value.
mhm.
So
So get off maybe 1 million more, getting rid of the tour, the
yeah.
twin towers sarcastically. Because I mean, okay, yeah, Santi 6'11", but what do you get for that when you're too scared to go in the paint and do anything?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's we talked about it sometimes. Yeah, like mm, man, you have to go in there. You just have to. You
Yep.
just big question. That's all I talk. Big question. Question. Um, and also I was asked about this in that podcast. I was talking about you,
Hmm.
and the person that was hosting the podcast, he was telling me the Grizzlies wouldn't trade Marcus Smart until they see what he can do with a healthy Grizzlies team. Do you think this is a valid point?
Yes, because I mean, what did we see of him last season? It just wasn't enough.
Not, now I speaking Portuguese. Nothing. Um,
Hmm?
I said nada. That's nothing
Oh,
in
yeah,
Portuguese.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
mm,
Nothing, hardly anything. And then I think it was Grits and Grinds. I was watching with the Keith Parrish, I think. Anyway, they were talking about like so there's these rumors about Marcus Smart to the Rockets for us moving up to their third position in the draft, blah blah blah.
no,
So
no, 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 no.
first we sent them Dylan. Okay, so whatever you want to say about his offense, his defense is elite. Then we sent Steven Adams.
Yeah.
And then Marcus Smart. So like all three of some of the best defensive players. Anyway,
Yeah.
that would be like kind of want to make you cry in a way. Like I don't think it would happen, but 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 especially because of your friend's point that we really haven't seen what Marcus Smart can do with the healthy Grizzlies. And does a new season starting magically make everything better and everybody's ready to go? No, but there's obviously a much better chance of it, coming into the season and off of last season. So yeah, I think you want to keep
Hmm.
him around at least one more season to see what your
Yeah.
money bought you.
Yeah. 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 I totally agree with you. And also that conversation about moving and trading him to the Rockets to move to Victory is stupid. And then also it pose a question because then the Rockets will have to probably give Dylan and what we would take Dylan back. That doesn't make any sense. So it probably would have to make like a third team. Like it's just fucking mess. Like
Mm.
yeah. So on the players, we keep Marcus. You do think also that we're gonna trade Luke, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, me too. And probably two, at least two of Zaire, Santi, Jake, or John Conchar.
Mm-hmm.
And then we keep Chad as Jaren, Vince, Gigi. This I'm reading, of course. BC, Marcus Smart, Derrick Rose. It's funny.
Isn't it?
No, yeah, but I think he's saying,
Yes. Oh, definitely. Definitely.
yeah.
Because that's another thing where you didn't see it play out how you thought it would. Derrick Rose was never supposed to have to play as many minutes in as many games as he did to start with,
Mm-hmm,
right? And
mm-hmm,
so it was really not surprising to see him kind of like taking the rest of the season off, especially in a lost season. You don't want to, or quote
yeah,
unquote lost season. You don't want to
Jordan
risk any more
is,
damage when you don't have to. You don't have to. We got
yeah.
Scottie Pippen Jr. out there. We had
Also is
oh my
gonna drop
guy
another
Gilliard. Oh my god, I love him so much. Still, I don't care.
Killian, the small king, the short king. Yeah,
I don't care if he's tiny,
no,
but
me neither. Me neither.
all right, because he plays with so much heart and IQ. I mean, dude,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's very clever. He's like
yes,
I don't know 6'5" because the feet and inches. I think he's like 5'7" or something like that.
right, right,
Like smaller than me, and he's playing with guys that like 6 something 7 footers, and he can only get to that level of because he plays well and he has great IQ. Some things that sometimes would drive me, to the little things that sometimes drive me mad at him is like he would shoot from three, yeah, and he would do it very well, but it was like for mid range, like he wouldn't like, no, this guy's
hmm
actually tall for me. No, I'm not going to. No, no, no.
lost in the trees, man. What is he gonna get
Yeah,
up in there?
yeah. Come on.
He's got to get out on the perimeter and hoist that motherfucker. Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
saw, oh, yeah, we saw him try to go to the basket a few times. It was not the wisest move.
no, no, no.
So
Mm,
you, with Yuta being gone, that leaves a
hmm?
is that
Sorry.
is that with Yuta? Like, doesn't he decline?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Did.
right.
Yeah.
So that does that leave a spot open for, or is that like the drafted person takes that spot?
According to what I've seen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If we keep Lamar, 15,
Oh,
16 with Conchar, and I'm not putting even Godwin in the question because I don't think he's in the question.
right.
Of course, that among this that I was counting, there's Luke, there's Santi, there's Ayer, there's Jake, there's Conchar, so probably some pieces. Because if we were to sign, also we have Trey Jamison also too. So if we were to sign with Lamar
Mm-hmm.
right now, we would have 16 players. So
Wow.
and someone via draft. So no, not someone like 2 players at least. So like
Yeah.
17. So
Mhm.
another question that someone has to go. And if we get a center, a veteran center, a free agent, or buy or for a trade, so yeah. Uh, Even on that question, we have to
Mhm, mhm.
all these people can say. Like I'm not saying
No,
who,
obviously, no. I was
but
counting 11 that, would, because of John, Jaren, Marcus,
yeah, but
that's
you have
3,
Jad, Des,
4,
Jaren, Vince,
5.
Gigi, Brandon Clark, Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Sandy, Zaire, Jake, Derrick Rose, Scottie Pippen, Trey Jamison, and then contract, and then you may have Lamar Stevens. So that's 16.
Yeah, I'm not counting the people I'm thinking are going to be gone, like Luke and Zaire
Mm-hmm.
and Santi. But
Yes, so
but
that would
you
make
know,
two.
I mean,
Three.
I'm counting my chickens before they hatch for certain on that one. Doing a little advanced math.
Yeah, yeah. So coming into now we're going into the off season, and so and for and so and so. How you envision next season to, like, it can't be worse than this one.
How do I
So
vision next season? What
next season to be.
I mean, in my ideal of ideals, um, we have, because I feel like Jaren's offensive leap over the last season is enough to draw, attention away from. So I'm going to count him in that equation.
Mhm.
So we have Jaren, and I mean Des draws his own gravity, of course, obviously, but I mean if we get the good center that we need, I just envision like a free flowing, high scoring, cohesive unit because of the you know the look back, the 2020 vision of seeing this last season and how it played out, and what we missed out on. You know what I mean?
On this
Like
season.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Like look at this. Look at what happened. You know, but here we are. Better versions of ourselves because of it, and and more connected, obviously, because you're going to have more familiar faces. But also I think trimming the fat and getting pieces that are actually going to because okay, so yeah, Luke Kennard's a great shooter, but he doesn't
Hmm.
put up as many shots as most people want him to, right? That's why
Yeah,
that's why they say that his percentages are so good, because he doesn't take as many. So he
yeah,
right.
yeah.
But so you get somebody who's more free. I'm not I'm not. I didn't see Bieberovic anywhere on the roster on the payroll, and I mean, I guess maybe he's anyway. I don't want to count on something that may or may not happen, but it just seems like why would they do that and then not use him at some point, you know? And if you're getting rid of a shooter like that, so yeah, so I'm like I said, I'm just feeling like a joyous return, Oh, I've missed this so much, and and we need to pull together
Yeah,
because we fell apart last year, that kind of thing.
yeah. I do sense that too. I hope that too. And like,
Well, let
um,
me tell you, I'm gonna be crying real tears if we get through the first handful of games and it's not like that, because oh my gosh, I would need it so bad.
uh, what if it's on if the first games go south? That's what you mean?
Right. If they look disjointed
No,
or
no,
not
no, no,
connected
no, no,
or
no, no, no.
uninspired.
I could not deal with that. No, no.
No, exactly.
No,
That's what I'm saying.
that's no, no. I'm just too hopeful. No, I can
I know.
no, no,
I
no,
need this redemption arc. I need it
no,
for them,
no.
for myself.
Yeah, we all need it. Jesus, no, no, no. We all need it. No, for the last and um, sometimes I talk really bad about him, and then I started to regret it because uh, I think that he was um he had to deal with like this season, and I do think that with the season that we have, he really um could make the best out of what was possible to do. I'm talking
Are we
about
talking about one Taylor Jenkins?
how did you know?
Because you have to. You have to.
Sorry?
Yeah. No, you have because I knew because you have to talk about it, you know.
Mhm.
I know
Yeah.
that there's a lot of oh, yeah, he's a good developmental coach, but is he the one to take us all the way to the ring? And and I feel like that Taylor Jenkins in a lot of way is a parallel to the team, right? A young coach, growing, learning, all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. And and going through these things with them,
Mm-hmm.
these growing pains. I feel like he could be. I don't think he's a bad coach. I really don't. Do I think that he can improve? Of course, Um,
Mm-hmm.
but also like my complaints about uh, you know calling timeouts at awful times.
Yeah.
Not calling them when you should. Not making a challenge. Making weird subs. Pulling players
Mm-hmm.
when they're hot. Adjustments. These things. Um, I
But you,
don't know. I've definitely like I'm not like a long time sports fan, so I
mhm.
I often will like seek out voices of people who've been sports fans for a lot longer than I have, so
Of
that I
course.
can sort of kind of get an idea
Yeah.
um, of whether or not my instincts are right or wrong. And I guess it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong, um, but yeah. Where was I going with that? Oh, the coach,
Mm-hmm.
yes, those are legitimate complaints to an extent, but they're not. I can't remember how it was put,
About
so I'm just gonna fall off of it there because I just don't remember how it was put. But it's just not as important, and or not what you think it is. Not, you know what I mean? Like if he were just a little bit better at it, okay, yes, but it, is he far away from where he should be with it? Probably not. Some of this is on the players, obviously.
yeah,
Um,
and I think you made a great point. He's also learning,
right.
and he's able to learn. And you know that I was very critical of him at some point because I have to blame someone, basically,
Of course.
and and also, of course, let's blame the coach. And and to be honest, I think that some of the critics that I made, I think they were valid.
Mhm.
Uh, but I also think that's easy to to be in at your on your computer or television or wherever, and watching
Mhm.
the video and saying, "Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do that. Oh, why are you doing this? Oh, if I was there, I would do this and that and that and that and that." But as the season went along, I not that I did not respect him before, but I grew much more respect for him for the assignments he put on players like Gigi, Vince, and what and other players, and the fact that's also on the players too, of course, a lot on the players. That almost like until the end, he could keep the team competing,
Mhm.
regardless that we are not really competing for anything except for pride or for winning because it's sports and you want to win, you don't want to lose.
Right.
Um, and so I think that next year is probably gonna be like uh, an important year to really evaluate what if he can take the Grizzlies to the next level. But and well, I'm gonna say this, and uh, um, at this point, I really do believe that there's a good chance that he is that coach, because there's also something. that I also think that we talked about is uh, the connection the players have with him, and that's
Mm-hmm.
like I think if you are a coach, if you have your players with you, that means like a lot, like a lot. Means
Absolutely.
it means it means almost everything.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that's very easily overlooked by his critics, you know. They don't want
Mhm.
to acknowledge the relationship he has with the players. They pass it off as, oh, they just don't know any better because they've never had any other coach, you know, like Ja
Yeah.
and Jaren,
Mhm.
you know, and Desmond, whatever. But I think it's much, much deeper than that.
No, you sense. I think you sense like a loyalty. You sense like there's a bond in there, a strong bond.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in there, and it's not because oh they didn't have a other coach as the only coach they know. No, I think it's deeper. It's deeper
Yes,
than that. And of course, if you are a coach, if you don't have like the locker room with you, you don't. And if you
that's
have the
right.
locker room with you, then you can do very beautiful things. Hopefully.
That's hmm
Hmm.
I think that a good example of that is the Lakers this last season. I they you know I want to say that Darvin Ham did not have that locker room, and then he was gone in a lickety split.
Yep,
It
that's true.
just it didn't feel you didn't feel respect. You didn't feel
None.
it was like everybody deferred to LeBron, which of course it's LeBron. You're going to do that, whatever. But the coach should definitely maintain, you know, some degree of respect among his players, and it just didn't feel that way.
No, it didn't. Yeah, for sure, it didn't. Yeah, of course, it's LeBron and blah 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 blah. Okay, but you're talking about Darvin Ham, and yeah, and he seemed like lost lots of times,
Hmm.
and like how do you say this? Kind of stepped over. Like
Yes.
no, now it happened with LeBron, but now I'm gonna call a timeout, and um
Hmm.
and um but I don't know if it's we're not talking about Birmingham, but I don't know if also if it's fair. But also I think that if you are a coach, well, you have also to give yourself some respect. If you don't
Hmm.
give yourself some respect, then you end up like players calling timeouts, players drawing plays, and you're just like they're doing
Right.
uh, doing I don't know. Mm,
Which, if
Whatever.
you listen to some fans, that's what he's doing. But I don't see that. I don't see that at all.
Sorry?
I mean, which I was going to say this thing where you have the players dictating and you know and the coach is just being kind of like a doormat, you know, just kind of there
Hmm.
standing. I don't think you know some fans would have you believe that that's what's happening with the Grizzlies, that Taylor Jenkins ain't doing shit, you know, that whiteboard is empty, all that kind of stuff. But
No, no,
I
no, it's
I
not
don't
true.
see that really.
No,
If
no,
you
not
listen to the
really.
players and you watch them with him, that's the opposite of what's going on to me.
Completely, completely. 100%. 100%. That's that's not really what's happening. I see
Right.
them locked in, and they talked during this season. I remember Des talking about it. I also
Mhm.
remember Jaren talking about it, and I do see them respecting the coach.
Mhm.
If someone is saying different, well, it's not saying the same thing that I'm saying. Maybe I'm wrong. I
Right.
don't know, but I am not. Um, um,
Yeah, I think it's fair to be critical, but I also think that it's fair to believe that he has the juice to take them there because there is that bond, as you said, for sure.
yeah, I truly believe so. Okay, I think we covered all the topics I had to cover with you.
I agree.
So I want to thank you for joining in once again.
Well,
Um,
thank you very much for asking me to join you.
no, it's a pleasure, and hopefully you can come back on the beginning of the season. Um, we can talk more, and especially with a good start of the season. Because if it's not a good start of the season, Jesus, I will not go.
We're not going to
I
talk
can't
about
take it.
that.
I can't take it. No, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine in the West.
It is.
Uh, okay,
Uh,
Rebecca. Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
thank you also to everyone that is listening. It's available on YouTube. It's available on Twitch, and uh, I don't know where else is available, but I'll put the description on the link. And once again, thank you so much, and be back in couple of months. Okay, Rebecca. Thank you once again for
Yes,
joining.
sir. Good night.
Okay.